Yo, what is up, you guys? So today, Kingsisle made a huge post about their response to the Azteca raid situation. Now, for those of you guys who do not know, a week ago from today, there was an exploit that dropped in the maintenance, the weekly maintenance, that allowed people to, upon entering the Azteca raid, you were able to spin a double chance chest to get gear. Now, obviously, there's been a huge misconception around this that it was free and basically these people got the gear for doing nothing. That is not true at all. I am one of the people who did get the 1 month suspension for opening the chest due to the fact that upon entering the Azteca raid key, I did spend almost 300,000 crowns on getting the hat, boot, robe, and wand for both sets for my main account. That's how much it took me, so it is definitely not free at all. There's been a lot of discussion about how to perceive this as a dev and responding to the dev's actual their actual post. So I'm going to get into that today. So for example, let's start off with what the actual exploit was. Now, obviously, there was no third-party software needed to perform this. Literally, all you had to do was from the opening of the maintenance, when the maintenance ended, all the way up until about 8 p.m. Thursday night, when the devs turned off the raid portal, so you could not enter a raid. You were able to walk into the Azteca raid after crafting a key, which already is a very difficult task to do. Keys are not easy to make to enter the guilds and enter into the raids. So after doing that, you were able to go in, and upon entering, there was second chance chests and a pity system crafter that were there. And by doing that, you were allowed to open each boss's chest, get the drops, and you also got a reagent called Zababa Shards, which then allows you to pity system craft the Hunhao gear. And then if you were to desire to want the Zababa gear instead, you could 1-for-1 craft that from Hunhao into Zababa. Now that is how the exploit worked. There was no third party. Literally all you had to do was go in to the Azteca raid and buy the chest. Now that is a very important aspect to this, is you had to buy the chest. Being able to open this chest enough to where it actually affects other people, you had to spend a lot of crowns, which is what kind of alters the KI decision from this. Because if it was simply just a third-party exploit or something, they would just simply ban everyone who did it. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because not only was all of the things that you need to do already in the game, you did not have to use a third party, you did not have to use any manipulation. All you had to do was go into the raid and spend money. Spending money is the huge factor here, because if they just delete the items without refunding, a lot of people are going to charge back, create claims, stuff like that, and KI is going to lose money. So how do you avoid people from losing money? You punish them to the point where they're not going to charge back their accounts and they're not going to stop spending money, but they understand the point. And I believe the KI did get that point across mostly. They just missed a little bit. So for those of you guys who did not see the post today, Kingsisle released a statement through the Discord that says, Wizards, after the last update went live, an issue with the Crying Sky raid was discovered. Obviously, you knew that. Unfortunately, the issue was only to manifest in the live environment, meaning it was not caught by internal testing. What this means is they tested the code that was being pushed to live, but they did not actually quality assure test the raid itself. They did not go into the form of the game that was being pushed to live realm and test the raid to see if it worked. They saw that there was no reason that this exploit should have happened in the code, and they pushed it. That is basically what it's saying there, regardless if he's going to say it directly. That is what he means. He said, while the Crying Sky was running, some players abused an exploit with a second chance chest. Chest items were acquired prematurely and more often than they should have. Prematurely meaning no guilds have beaten the raid. They know that. And the hat, robe, boot, wand are only supposed to be acquired from the final boss, meaning they knew no one should have it, because they can tell that no one's ever beaten it. A reminder that abusing an exploit is against community code of conduct, whatever. For the players who access the chest beyond its intended nature, we are sanctioning associated accounts with a 4-week suspension. So that is the meat of the punishment that they're giving. 4-week suspensions for all the accounts that acquired the gear. I've seen some people who got gear did not get banned. I believe if you used it more than once or twice, then you got suspended. I know there's people in my guild specifically that used 3 spins on the chest and they got sanctioned for a month. The same as I did, someone who spent over 300k crowns on the chest. We got the same suspension. Now here is where it comes into play. Is this a fair response from KI? Yes. There are multiple aspects to this. One, the gear is not even really competitive to the burial gear that's available right now. The only reason all the people who bought the gear bought it in such mass quantities is because we know when 170 comes around that the gear is going to be upgraded. That is why I bought it. I know that's why a majority of PvP players bought it, is we know the gear will be eventually good in advanced combat. And on the same flip of the coin, the raid is much easier to beat now. They made a lot of much needed nerfs to the gear and the raid itself, from the bosses and the spell changes, that makes it easily doable now. Well, easily doable in the sense of the people who have been trying to beat it for months and have not even gotten close. It is definitely doable now. And with that being said, having all of the people who exploited gone for a month, it would give the other people plenty of time to catch up and use the gear fairly. Whether or not you want to say if it's fair to keep the gear, sure, I think it is. The other response that I saw a lot of people bring up is make it to where the gear has a badge requirement. Make it so the players can keep the gear, but they can only use it if they actually get the badge for defeating Unhow. Now, there's two problems with this. One, this is a feature that's not already in the game, so they'd have to go back and code a feature into the game to do a different response than something they already responded to publicly. I highly doubt it's going to happen. And two, if I beat the raid on my life and I want to use my ice gear, but my ice doesn't have the badge, what are you going to do there? So there'd have to be another feature that they have to add to do that. It doesn't really make sense. I feels like they are pretty confident with the response they made now. And to be honest, I don't think it really matters. I think that there's always going to be competitive gear regardless. Obviously, raid gear is very good. Right now, it has been in previous metas, the Dragonspire raid gear. So this gear could be very good in the future, but whether or not I think you should ban players because of it, I don't. There was no third-party exploits here. Players simply had no external behaviors beside going to the raid and using crowns to open the chest. So I think a ban is very excessive. And I think a lot of the people who are calling for bans are being hypocritical. I'm not going to call any names here, but I feel like a lot of people's opinions on how the punishment should have been handed out is slightly biased to the fact that they did not also get to open the chest. This is coming from my perspective, someone who does not get to play Wiz as much as, hardcore players, because I have a job, I have a lot of in real life stuff going on outside of Wiz. I do make enough money to be able to justify spending a lot of money on a chest, and I did because I want to have the gear in the future competitive to players who spend all of their time on the game, and I don't think that's a problem. I think, obviously it's unfortunate that this happened, but I think their response was just fine. I think in the future it's going to blow over. I don't think it's going to matter. So with that being said, if you guys have anything else to add, feel free to drop a comment, but please keep it respectful. This is not a place to argue. Kingsisle made their decision, and you probably will not see anything else come from this publicly from them. So again, if you guys have anything else to add, my Discord is in the description. You can join my Discord server. And if you guys have any other videos you want me to make, go ahead and let me know, and I will see you guys in the next one.